And we are live. What's going on, everybody? Tonight on Open Late with your friend Adam, we will be opening the vintage collection Blurrg and the Mandalorian. Normally, I open things kind of late, but I feel like this is pretty early. I don't think I've seen. I don't think I've seen anybody talking about this yet. I'm usually pretty late to the party as far as getting things. I got this one fairly early. I ordered this directly from Hasbro Pulse. Um, I don't know where else it was available. I usually get my toys from ecollectibles.ca, but I actually got this because I actually bought this at the same time that I bought Starduster, so that I could bundle them together and get the free shipping. And so that's why I got this guy. But in a funny twist of fate, I have been sort of chatting with the Cyberzoic guys in the last couple days, and I was catching up on my Cyberzoic videos on the Creative Beast Studio YouTube page, and just feeling like really, really, really excited about Cyberzoic. Really, really excited. And if you're not familiar with Cyberzoic, it is, of course, a 1/18th scale line of dinosaurs with armor that have riders on them. It's not necessarily dino riders, but it's dino riders. And so I was just really, really excited. And I've been buying some vintage collection stuff in anticipation of Cyberzoic. So I picked up a couple figures. I picked up the Navarro Cantina, just for some Dio stuff, some world building stuff. And so I was excited to get this because the Blurrg, to me, the Blurrg kind of feels like a creature that could live in that Cyberzoic world. Cyberzoic, is a story that sort of takes place on an alien planet. So you have dinosaurs and some mammals and things like that. But there's also native species, and so I'm thinking of the Blurrg as like a native species. And I'm thinking of Mandalorian in Cyberzoic terms as sort of a desert clan type of character. So I'm just really, really excited to get this. And to sort of world build Cyberzoic by way of Star Wars, which is kind of funny, right? Like I'm kind of going backwards in a weird way. I'm building out a new lore, a new IP with existing stuff, with a strangely enough, with a 40-plus-year-old IP that has new stuff in the IP, which is kind of all working itself out very nicely, at least for me. But anyway, let's quickly take a look at the packaging, and the packaging is great. The vintage collection packaging is really, really good. I like the really clear, crisp pictures that we get on the boxes, and they feel nostalgic, but it all feels very new. So I'm really, really excited about that. The Star Wars, the Mandalorian, Blurrg and Mandalorian. You get the Kenner logo. You still get the Kenner logo down in the corner. I didn't realize this, and it doesn't really matter. I'm opening him anyway. But the Mandalorian figure actually comes carded in here, I think, which is kind of crazy that they would have this elaborate box just to give you a carded Mandalorian figure. Depending on how much I like this or dislike this, I may get another one. I may keep the Mando on card because I kind of want two Blurrgs. I feel like two of them, makes a little bit more sense. But anyway, you get the nice big picture on the front, a smaller picture on the sort of top flap of the box there. But then you get a bunch of pictures everywhere else too. So you get some on the top there. You get a picture on the side here. You get a picture on the other side. You get a picture on the back, which is the same as the picture on the front. So I guess that's not as exciting to have it on the back there. But, you get a call out to that carded figure again. Then, of course, you get the sort of box contents in a picture there. I like that this is nice and big. You know, the picture is nice and big on the back here. There's a bunch of legalese, but they kind of tuck it in the corner, which is good. I like it. I like this box. I feel bad that I'm just going to open this and absolutely get rid of this box. I'm going to recycle it. I don't need to keep it. I don't have room for it. So, anyways, um, before I get this open, let's check in with the chat. Jeff Morris is here. What's going on, Jeff? Good to have you. Says, I also just got my Blurrg today. I got mine yesterday, actually. So very, very timely to get it on a Tuesday when I open toys on Wednesdays. Ray Black is here as well. Good to have you. Jeff says, I ordered mine from Big Bad Toy Store and it came pretty fast. I will probably buy a second Blurrg if I find it at the store. Jeff, did you open yours yet? I'm curious. What do you think? Do you like it? Anyway, let's get this out of the box. I pre-cut the tape to expedite this process. Expedite it a little bit, not that much. All right, so there he is. You get a little baggie with with okay, this is interesting. I'll take it all out of the package, but you get a little bag with some parts. Then you get the Blurrg in sort of cardboard prison here, and then the Mando's just sort of slotted in the back. Very nice, very cool, and it's a unique. Whoa, I'm knocking stuff off my desk. Then you get a uniquely carded Mandalorian, which of course has the Blurrg on there. And then on the back, no cross sell. You just get the picture of the figure and then sort of some random stuff. Again, cool, on a unique card. But I'm definitely opening this guy up. I don't care about carded stuff. Let's see how easy this guy's going to be to pop on the box. I think it's going to be really easy. Very easy to get out. What's funny, what I was kind of giggling to myself about is that in the box, the little bag has two parts. It has two pieces, a harness and an arm. So the Blurrg comes with one arm, no legs. You got to put one arm on, but thankfully they only make you put one arm on. That goes in nice and easy. It's kind of like a gross, ugly tadpole without its legs. The Blurrg is really ugly. I mean, it looks like a fish. He has a fish face, tadpole kind of body. Yeah, it's ugly, but I love it. I love the Blurrg. I just think it's so much fun. Okay, let me just pop this guy together. Hopefully in a way that he's going to stay together. It doesn't have a very satisfying pop, but you kind of know when it's on because it's it can move and adjust and so on. Pretty limited articulation on the Blurrg. It's got there's like hip rotation, knee rotation. There's an ankle pivot, and then it's got ankle rocker as well. The tail is on a ball joint, and it'll go in every direction and rotate as well. The arms are a little bit. I thought there might be articulation at the wrist or at the elbow, but there isn't. There's just a ball joint at the top there, and then it's just sort of a this. There's a name for it, and soon enough I'm gonna have to learn it. But Articulation's not great, but the paint apps are fantastic. This thing looks really, really good. Let me adjust my light a little bit so that I can get it where I want it. Actually, let me adjust my camera very quickly. And by very quickly, I mean not very quickly. All right, that'll do. So there's the Blurrg. The paint apps are fantastic. The deco on this guy is really, really nice. And I will go so far as to say that the paint apps really sort of, I'm not that worried about the sculpt because the paint apps look good. So this is going to look really, really good on a shelf. This is very presentable. It is a very presentable figure, creature, monster, whatever you want to call it. There is articulation for the jaw, and it's all painted inside the mouth as well. So that's really, really well done. The paint's really crisp too. Like there's no paint out of place. There's no deco that isn't exactly how you would want it. So that is very, very good. The harness, of course, how is this meant to go on? Hold on. Let me reference the box here. Okay. I don't think there was instructions, but then again, I didn't really look. So this is going to fit right into his mouth. And I just, yeah, like his teeth are kind of sculpted where there's a little bit of a gap at the back, which is actually perfect because that's where the little harness, it's called a brindle. Is that what it's called? For some reason, I feel like that's what it's called. So yeah, just fits on there very, very nicely. It looks fantastic. I gotta say that this is, I somewhat expected it to be less painted than it is. The eyes look really, really good as well. They're very, very well painted. So I'm quite impressed with the Blurrg. I'm gonna get the Mando open as well. But before I do, let me just say hello to everybody else. No chewing. What's going on, buddy? Yes, it is open, and I'm playing with it while watching. Nice. Mechanized says mine is coming tomorrow. Can't wait. It's good. I'm impressed. I'm very, very impressed. Let me get the Mando off the card and let's see how he looks on the Blurrg. Should be all the cutting I will need to do. It's a nice card. I mean, as far as cards go. If you collect cards, there you go. That's a pretty good one. If you're like me, you're just gonna get rid of it. That's cool too. There he is, Mando. Pretty basic. So you get Mando, you get his pistol, you get his rifle. Nothing too crazy, but there's, if you're buying this because you collect Star Wars Vintage Collection, you probably got like 6 Mandos already. So I already have one. I got the first version. So I got the first version of the Mando in Black Series, Vintage Collection, and Retro Collection. There's some of the very, very few things that I have still on card. I don't collect on card, but those felt significant enough that I thought I would get them and keep them on card. These Vintage Collection figures, from what I've sort of experienced, they're okay. They're nothing special. They're decent. The articulation's okay. The paint's usually pretty good. And I think, form function as far as, for world building and stuff like that, 1/18 really can't be beat. I'm not going to lie. I love 1/12 scale. Most of what I collect is 112 scale, or 6-inch scale, whatever you want to call it. But 1/18 is really, really fun. There's something about 1/18 scale, 4-inch scale, 3 and 3/4 inch scale, whatever you want to call it. That just feels more nostalgic. The thing is with bigger hands now, I'm 42, and my hands are bigger than they were when I was 5, obviously. And when I was 5, this feels now like a 4-inch figure feels like, a Mask or a Dino Rider figure did. And then a 6-inch figure feels like what a 4-inch figure felt like, if that makes sense. So there's like a whole lot of nostalgia with a toy like this, in this scale, in this size, and it's just really fun. I mean, you can imagine this in a 6-inch scale. This thing would be absolutely massive. And where would you put it? Where would you put it? It's great. I mean, this is really, really good. I think I'm probably going to get a second one of these because it's great. It's fantastic. This is one that I would strongly recommend if you can find it. If you didn't already order one, if you sort of were on the fence or whatever, I would definitely say that this is a cool figure. This is definitely worth getting. The Mando figure is pretty decent as well, but the Blurrg is really the highlight of the show. Now, as I said, I got this not because it's vintage collection, partly because it's vintage collection. I mean, as I said, I do love the Blurrg, and I do love the Mandalorian in general. But really, my motivation is because of Cyberzoic. So just as a sort of reference, just to sort of give you an idea of what I'm talking about, the Blurrg is gonna at some point, battle and sort of fight off figures roughly this size. And these things are amazing. If you're not familiar with Beasts of the Mesozoic from Creative Beast Studio, they are definitely something to look into. Just as a reference too, I wanted to quickly show this. The vintage collection figures are a little on the small side when you sort of measure them up next to sort of modern 4-inch scale figures. So there you go for a little bit of reference, if anybody cared. I mean, I care because I'm actually more curious. This isn't a Cyberzoic figure, obviously. This is a Joy Toy figure, but scale wise, I think he could still work on the Blurrg, and vice versa. I think Mando could ride a Utah Raptor if he was so inclined. So there you go. There's that. Jeff Moore says, I collect all scales. I have 1/18 and 1/12, some of the smaller micro scale stuff also. Yeah, I don't necessarily sort of decide I'm going to get something because of the scale by any means. I just sort of, I like things at just about any scale, at every scale. I'll get the scale out of the way. But I just find myself gravitating more towards 6-inch scaled stuff because it just, I don't know, just sort of suits what I'm looking for in my collection a little bit better, in the sense that, I like a little bit more detail in my figures. I like them to be, a little more sculpt goes a long way for me. And so, that 1/12 scale, 6-inch scale is still very playable, but it's also trying to get him to hold on to this. It's very playable, but it's still gonna give me, a lot of design, a lot of sculpt, a lot of detail, which is what I'm into. I do love the 1/18 stuff, as I said, for world building, and dios and things like that are much smaller, much easier to sort of contain, and they take up far less space, which is a huge bonus. But yeah, I don't really particularly say that, oh, I only collect whatever, because I also buy Lego, and I buy weird stuff that's out of scale every once in a while. But anyway. A very, very short video today, guys. That's it. That's all I had was a Blurrg. And so, thank you for joining me. Thank you for hanging out and talking toys. I always say it is more fun to play with your toys with friends. So thank you for hanging out. If you're watching the replay, get yourself a Blurrg. This thing is fantastic. Till next time. Bye-bye.